A basic quilting technique that you need to know to finish your quilts is how to make a binding. So I'm going to show you how to take a piece of fabric and make a straight edge binding. This is not a bias binding, but as long as your quilt only has straight edges, a straight edge binding will work. So let me show you how to make it. So I have a fat quarter, and the first thing you want to do when you're making your binding is you want to iron your fabric, and then you want to trim it so that all of your edges are really straight. So I'm lined up right here, but I can see I'm a little off here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to trim it so that it's really straight. Okay, and so usually for a binding, you want 2 1/4 inch strips, and that's what I'm going to show you. Some quilters will use as small as 2 inches and some as large as 2 1/2. It depends on how you want your binding to look. Do you want it to look really tiny? Use a 2 inch. Do you want it to be a little bit larger? Use a 2 1/2. But 2 1/4 is usually pretty good for almost all of your projects. So, and if your fabric is too long for your ruler, just fold it in half. But so I'm going to cut 2 1/4 inch strips all the way down. And now we're just going to pin them all together and then take them over to the machine and chain piece them. So you line them up, and then you're going to be sewing from corner to corner, and then when you open them up, they will match. So just start with one and just keep going all the way down. So now that you have them all pinned, now you're going to be sewing from corner to corner. So from this corner right here, straight down, all the way down to this corner. And you're just going to chain piece them and do them all. It's very fast. Sewed them all together. Now we're going to take all the pins out, trim them apart. We're going to cut off this excess fabric. So we have a 1/4 inch seam. We'll open them up and we'll iron open all the seams. Have a 2 1/4 inch binding strip for any straight edge quilt. You just sew it right to the front of your quilt, flip it around, and then finish the other side, either with a decorative stitch or by hand. And you can check out my other video on how to finish your binding with an invisible seam. It'll show you how I stitched this to a front of a quilt.